So tonight, it's Lamar Jackson, a great young talent, and Joe Burrow, equally a great young talent. And one of them, Baltimore, is the guidebook on how to help raise your star quarterback. One is how to hinder it. So let's just talk Lamar Jackson. So he gets to Baltimore. He gets to sit for a while behind a veteran, a pro, Joe Flacco. They don't draft him to start day one. And very soon after, John Harbaugh signs an extension. No chaos. Veteran coach extended. They re-sign a left tackle, a Ronnie Stanley. They eventually draft a center over the course of time, Tyler Linderbaum. Left tackle, center, very valuable. By the way, they eventually shift offensive coordinators as Lamar grows in the pocket as a better passer to Todd Monken, who they feel, previous coordinator was good. This guy's a bit more pass-centric. So as Lamar grows, they add Zay Flowers. And then this year they add Derrick Henry. And they add at the deadline another receiver. Offense, weapons. They've changed coordinators to a more pass-centric coordinator as Lamar has grown. They don't ask him to start. They extend the great coach. Left tackle and center, outstanding. Centers don't get drafted much in the first round. Baltimore says, yep. By the way, Kansas City did the same for Mahomes. Went and got a center. All they're doing, what can we do to make this kid flourish? Now go to Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. You wonder why he looks perpetually pissed. He inherits and has to start immediately Zach Taylor. We still don't know if he's a good coach. The offensive line, they can't get it right. It's ranked 27th this year. It was 26th last year. I think a couple years ago it was rated lower. They can't get the offensive line right. This offseason, they let go of Joe Mixon, who I've been saying for years is a top 5 running back. He's had some stuff off the field starting in college, but he's really good. And, oh, by the way, they let him go, and Cincinnati has no run game and a bad offensive line. Oh, by the way, they lose their offensive coordinator, a really sharp kid, Callahan. He goes to Tennessee. Do they comb the market? Do they get into a bidding war for Cliff Kingsbury? No, they just move one of the guys on the staff up. Oh, by the way, they've got 2 really good receivers playing hardball with both. Higgins not going to play tonight probably, and he won't last. He'll be gone. And Jamar Chase is unhappy. I mean, that's the difference between the parents being at home, the parents adding wisdom, the parents not demanding too much too soon. As the kid grows, the parents challenge, support, and, hey, you're on your own. Mom and dad are going out. See you in a week. Baltimore, the entire time, what can we do to slowly grow this incredible young athlete? And Cincinnati, how can we save money? Didn't even make a play on Cliff Kingsbury. Let's just take a guy on the staff. Guy on the staff may be good, but generally in any company, it could be Nike, it could be Intel. Generally, you want a global search to get the best guy, generally. So as JFK, one of our great presidents, once said, ask not what your quarterback can do for you. Ask what you can do for your quarterback. One franchise gets it. One is trying to save money. And that said, I think tonight's really competitive. Wouldn't be shocked if Burrow wins. But everybody keeps asking, well, why is Joe Burrow so grumpy? You would be too. Burrow's the only great quarterback in the NFL that doesn't have either an elite coach or a really stacked roster. Goff does. Herbert's roster's good. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Jalen Hurts. I even like C.J. Stroud's roster. Joe Burrow trying to save money in Cincinnati.
Okay, let's talk about this. I was thinking about, which angle I want to take this with. But I guess I'll just tackle both of them, honestly. Yeah, listen, I think obviously from a culture standpoint, historic standpoint, the Baltimore Ravens are obviously a significantly better run franchise. The Ravens are consistently great. They're top 3 in playoff wins over the last 25 years, I believe. I think they're second only to the New England Patriots, and they were third to the Philadelphia Eagles, but they jumped them this past playoff run. So they are historically consistent, highly run, right? Great fan base, great culture, great everything, and tremendous amount of stability. And I think it's a great point in terms of how they've taken care of Lamar Jackson from that viewpoint. Now, I don't think they've done the best job to develop Lamar, quite honestly, personally. When you have the talent of Lamar, and I think you need to do a better job from a coaching standpoint. And as I've said now a million times, especially from a game plan standpoint, especially in the playoffs, it just feels that they're just like, all right, Lamar, go be you, bud. Right? There's just too many moments where I don't feel that they actually put Lamar in a position to succeed or to help himself out. It's just more like, hey, Lamar, bail us out, or hey, buddy, that's why we pay you the big bucks for you to go figure it out. Whereas when Colin talks about these other coaches like the Andy Reids of the world, Sean McVay, Shanahan, whatever, they do such a better job of putting their quarterbacks and other players for that matter in positions to succeed. Mahomes never feels like he's left on an island. Purdy or even Garoppolo never feels like he's left on an island. It's just not what happens. And again, actually, a great example of this is you could see Jalen Hurts with Shane Steichen was taken care of. Jalen Hurts with the new coordinator in 23 was just stuck on an island, had nowhere to go with the ball for blitzes, nowhere, like there were no answers, which is why he was angry. I mean, he was like, I have no answers for this. Now he got Kellen Moore. He now has answers, right? They had some issues. There were answers to that. I don't think Lamar Jackson always gets that, and that has been my fundamental issue with the Baltimore Ravens. But with that said, I can't get it where it's just like a more basic pause of him. He keeps making all these crazy faces. Okay, there we go. And so I think with Lamar Jackson, it can't be disputed that he's been taken care of, though, from a more 360 than Joe Burrow. Because just like as I just kind of defended some of the lack of success that Lamar Jackson has had, because then we can say, well, hey, you know what? Joe Burrow has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Lamar Jackson has never had that, etc. It's like, I get that. Like that's definitely fair. But right now, the Bengals have been a mess, and they've always been a mess. The Bengals have been such a mess that they were like really strongly trying to encourage Joe Burrow to sit out and say, don't go to Cincinnati. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then he was able to turn this franchise around very quickly, and people were like, wow, that's the Joe Burrow effect. But now we're seeing why people were saying, Joe Burrow, don't go to Cincinnati, right? Because they can't get the O-line right. When the O-line wasn't working for the Kansas City Chiefs and they got blown out in that Super Bowl, Andy Reid immediately fixed it. Right? They started to realize that defense, we were in this offensive era of football, but then they realized, you know what? Defense is actually really, really important right now. And it's like, okay, what did they do? They went out and went all in and drafted and acquired and built one of the best defenses, right? Like they're taking concrete steps to improve their team, whereas the Bengals have not done that, right? They just haven't. And when you are the type of quarterback that Joe Burrow is, right? A true, pure pocket passer, like your O-line is everything. Your O-line is everything. So the fact that they can't figure that out or go all in of rectifying it is kind of insane. It's really, really, really insane, right? It's just like, what are you doing? And I think Zach Taylor is the coach. I think he's probably like more in the Mike McCarthy, Doug Peterson category, right? Where they're like, yeah, they're competent. They can run a team. Because there's some coaches that can't run a team, can't run practices, right? Can't delegate coaching staff and stuff like that. They really struggle to do any of that type of stuff, and it collapses. Those types of coaches that maybe aren't geniuses and can't outcoach anyone else, but they still have this baseline where they can run a team. They know how to come up with game plans. And again, it might not be amazing, but they still know how to do it. They can run practices. They can control a locker room. They can talk to everyone. They can relay. Like, they can still do those things. That's who Zach Taylor is. Zach Taylor was about to be fired, was going to be, let go if it wasn't for Joe Burrow. And then what I think also helped him was that when Joe Burrow went down, you had Browning play pretty well. And people were like, well, look what Zach Taylor is able to do. Like, this is pretty impressive. And usually when you can win with the backup quarterback, it's a sign that you're a pretty good a good coach, a good offensive mind and all of that. But I just don't know if that's really turning out to be true. And I throw Josh Allen in the mix too. Like, who's Josh Allen's elite coaching staff that he's had over the years? And he had Diggs, right, who was very incredibly difficult and disgruntled to work with. So if we're saying Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are disgruntled, well, then you have to say that Diggs is as well. So that is the benefit. And that is why, and I've said this a lot, and I'm just going to quickly mention it, is that's why Patrick Mahomes has been in such an amazing situation, having the stability and the wealth of experience of especially Andy Reid more than anything. And it matters. That's why Patrick Mahomes has been able to be such an incredibly consistent, high-achieving quarterback. We can see why other players that are also obviously great elite talents like Lamar, like Josh Allen, like Joe Burrow have come up a little short. And quite frankly, I don't ever blame those quarterbacks. I really don't, because when I look at the situations that they're in and the teams that they're losing to, it just doesn't feel like this is a Lamar problem, a Joe Burrow problem, or a Josh Allen problem. It's just not the way I view it, quite frankly. So, you know, he didn't really answer the question tonight. A must win for Burrow and the Bengals. You know, to keep their season alive, sure, absolutely. Reputationally, I know the Baltimore Ravens fans like love these stats 5-1, and they want it to be 6-1, and you know they take it as a sign of proof that Lamar is king and all of that. But then this is what I always say to Lamar Jackson fans is, well, if that's the case, then Patrick Mahomes owns Lamar Jackson, right? You know, he owns Lamar Jackson, and I don't think true Lamar Jackson fans feel that way. Right. So I don't really care about the whole head-to-head, head-to-head record, especially individually for a quarterback. I think it's just very obvious that the Baltimore Ravens are consistently a better team, better run, team franchise than a team like the Cincinnati Bengals. And I don't think how that could be even remotely argued. But again, to be very honest, I really do not care about the discussion of who's a better quarterback between Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. I can't do that every single time they play each other, because that's what this conversation turns into every single year, every single time they play each other, and they do it twice a year. And it's just like, I just don't care. I really don't. I think they're great players. They're great quarterbacks. I do not have a strong desire to constantly try to figure out who's a better quarterback. Who's better? Well, this quarterback has went to a Super Bowl. Well, this quarterback had no offensive weapons. Well, this quarterback has a worse O-line. Well, this quarterback has this record head-to-head. Well, this quarterback beat Patrick Mahomes. I don't care. I really don't. I just love to watch great football, great players, and I think it's awesome that Lamar Jackson gets to go up against Joe Burrow in the division, right? And these games actually truly matter. Patrick Mahomes has been going up against nobody in his division, and that's not that interesting. Tom Brady had no one to go up against in his division. That's not that interesting. So I think it's cool. It's unfortunate if you're Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson, quite frankly, to have to go up to such steep competition and great play in your division, but the NFL is better for it, right? And that's why this game is so much more fun, because if this was the Chiefs versus the Raiders, or the Ravens versus the Bengals, it's just like, well, that's who really cares, right? Tom Brady playing the Bills back before, of course, obviously Josh Allen and all that. It's like, okay, we know the Patriots and Tom Brady's going to rock them, right? So this makes it so much more can't miss TV, much more exciting and interesting to watch. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Lamar Jackson head-to-head with Joe Burrow tonight? Who you got? Is it a must-win for either team, quite frankly? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.